Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-splaining the interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, small law firm in central Minnesota, still alive today. Much to the chagrin of many people, I'm sure. But I did make it. Oh my goodness. It's okay, I'm going to wear headphones so the hair doesn't matter as much. What? Now it's just out of focus. I swear. Whoever created webcams should be maybe headbutt. Something polite, you know, because they did a good thing. They also did an annoying thing by making them not work right. Okay. Like I said, we're here. We're live. Yesterday was a little bit of a ridiculous show. I am glad many people enjoyed it. I was annoyed. I was not in the best place going into the stream, but you know, that's how it goes, right? Life is ups and downs, and yesterday I didn't even have much of a reason. I was just irritated. So, but tonight I am not irritated yet, although I'm sure that's going to change with the subject of the video. We are having a Ronversation by Proxy. Many people have asked, and I don't know what to do with these. Right? I am lost. Like a child in a Kmart, because no good parents go to Kmart. Like a child in a Kmart, I am lost with Ronversations because I can't keep up with the amount of content that Ron is putting out. So I can't go through all of it. But I did start this particular interview a while back, and I feel like it's only just to finish it. But I don't want people to think that I have a plan on doing full coverage of every single interview that Ron does. It would take years of time. It would take years of time to go through all of it. So on this interview, I am going to go through, we're gonna soldier on at least for a while longer. But we're gonna do that. The other interviews that he's done, I may see if either my Discord or someone else would want me to address, like a highlight reel or something like that. I don't know, because I don't want to spend 8 shows going through each interview, if you know what I mean. So that's just not much of what I want to do with the show or with y'all's time. Even though it can be funny, he's also very, very repetitive. And part of that repetitiveness is from something someone sent me, I think very much rings true, in that their assessment of Ron was that he was the type of person who would write down basic interactions that he was going to have throughout the day. Like, he goes into work, right? He's like, I'm going to call this client, and I'm going to call this person, and I'm going to go down this list. And he scripts out the phone calls. And I think there's a lot of merit to that theory. I think that's likely what's going on behind the hollow glass globes that are the eyes of Ron Toye. So, and I think that's why what we see in the interview is, and when I say scripts it out, I don't mean he writes a script and then reads it. It's not the same thing. But there are some people who prepare points, and it's a type of extemporaneous speaking, but it's not entirely extemp, right? It's more polished than extemp. So Ron has a set of talking points, and he has a set of concrete ideas around each one. So when he's popping on these different shows, he's able to rattle through his statements. He doesn't do too well on his feet. In fact, he says some really, really, really dumb stuff when he gets kind of caught off guard or if he goes off book. One of the things was where he was talking about coming to Minnesota and assaulting me, for example. Now, I mean, I don't think Ron is like planning to come to Minnesota and assault me. I don't think that's a thing that is going to happen. However, I think maybe for a minute he might have entertained that. But I don't want to put it off as if Ron threatened me or anything like that. Ron didn't directly threaten me in any way. The biggest thing that happened with Ron and I, and this is actually kind of an interesting thing for me to think about, an interesting exercise, if you will, is I believe that happened with Ron, right? That he went through his emotional menstrual cycle that he talked about on the Knuckleheads podcast, not the one we're doing now, but the next one with Ken Jennings, and that he went through that thing, okay, and then obviously decided not to do it, which I commend him for doing the very basic step of not committing assault. Good job, Ron. Massive accomplishment, you turbo cuck. But he managed to do that. So I commend him and he should be praised. Lady Rackets and I were foster parents for a time. And in the foster parent training, you do these different classes. And one of the classes was a video series by a psychologist or something, this old guy. And, one of the things that he talked about was always finding a reason to praise your children, right? So and if they're absolute terrors on a particular day and they're awful and they're the worst, then you just praise them for managing to breathe and get through the day. Like, good job breathing today. And that's how I feel Ron is right here, right? Where good job not crossing state lines to commit a felony. Yeah. Get him, Tiger. So that's I feel like he's owed that. Okay, that being said, what Ron did do, and this is a Ron didn't do something, was he and Monica had Lemoyne try and file a subpoena against me to force me into a deposition. And in doing so, I think that was where they communicated their threat. I believe they decided that they wanted to kind of silence or intimidate me as someone that they have labeled a witness. And yes, Ty did quash it, as he mentioned in the chat just right now. They did a motion to quash, and then nothing ever became of that. They didn't pursue it further than that initial request to notify, or like a request for permission to issue a subpoena. It was weird. And I think that the purpose of that was to silence me. I'm under no illusion that I believe that was the purpose. I think I thought so at the time, and I think Ron's statement since backed that up. They were really, really mad at me. Still are. They were really, really mad at me and what I did to their cute little plan. Ironically, I didn't know the extent of their plan at the time. I was just pointing out how stupid they were being, and it seems to have just borne out that way. But anyway, so I accidentally foiled their plans like kids in Scooby-Doo or whatever, and that made them really, really upset. And so what they did was they published or they filed a document with a bunch of witnesses that were listed. I was on that list. But in that document, they redacted everybody's address except the one they had for me. Now, fortunate, I guess, for me, they didn't have the correct address. And I still have not received whatever they sent, which is fine. That's, you know, since they're not pursuing it, I guess that doesn't matter. But they put my address, no, and then, you know, it was intended to go public. And in fact, I believe they sent those documents straight to Law Twitter as well. So it wasn't like I released them. They were already out on Twitter at the time that it came out, if I remember correctly. Now, you know, if it were just me, I probably would have censored my own address. And I think I did censor the address that they used or whatever. But I censored most people's addresses. I think I might have missed one early on, but you know, all of the ones, any of them that I missed, I think Jamie Markey's I might have missed. And thank goodness, you know, Shane Holmberg to the rescue had released her address before I got around to missing it. So good job for that. But anyway, this is my thoughts were that they were attempting to intimidate me and get me to just be quiet, because we know they really, really wanted me to be quiet. And Ron has said it a million times. If I would just have shut up, and if I would just shut up, and if I just don't stop talking, we're going to have some sort of reckoning over and over and over. So that was the intimidation. And I think Ron really screwed up the other day when he went and he then stated that he had also considered assaulting me and even consulted his attorney and then included his attorney's response in discussing it. One thing you don't want to do, just if you're not a lawyer or you don't know, is if you have a confidential conversation with your attorney, you should not disclose the contents of that conversation publicly. You shouldn't do it, because that defeats any privilege you may have had in those statements, because they're now public. And so those statements could now be part of some sort of record. And Ron may have done a disservice. I mean, it doesn't matter now, but if the appeals go a particular way and they were to then want to issue some sort of revisit that subpoena or whatever, you know, I have a fairly basic argument that they're doing it to intimidate me into silence, and I can back it up with a lot of Ron's words. So not a good idea to do that. And it is nice to know, though, that Ron was thinking about me, and while thinking about me was thinking about assault. That makes me way more comfortable with many of my decisions that have happened up until this point. Also, I believe that he said that he went looking for Ty Beard and wanted to finish it in the parking lot, which is also not a good statement to make in public. And I don't know, there's not really like some actionable issue there, but there is something to be said about just what an unhinged weirdo Ron Toye is. So that's the strange thing about that. But as for my response, I read a comment on the Kiwi Farms, which I think was wise and funny. And this is my response to Ron Toye on the weird fighting thing that he has, okay? The Kiwi Farms person, and I apologize, dear poster, I do not remember who said it, and I don't have it pulled up here, but I will try to not mangle your quote, and I think you'll know exactly who you are, because it's obvious. They said, "Great, this Cold War will be even gayer than the real one." And so I'm going to put this down pretty simply. There is not a Cold War, and I'm not going to exchange fight challenges with Ron Toye, because I think internet fights are something to be laughed at. And so there's not going to be this weird back and forth on it. I will just say, Ron, it's about falling in love with the process and committing yourself to change. Committing yourself may be the operative language there. So, there we go. There we go. All right. So here's what I got to do, and I apologize. I didn't have time to get to this before the show. I've been away from home most of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the timestamp where we left off on the other video of the Knuckleheads. It'll take me just a second, and then we'll go back to that. Where is the... Oh, wait, those are short uploads. Where's my live stream Ronversations? It wasn't that far ago, was it? Ronversations by Proxy Part 2. Okay. Let me pull this up. Woo! And we'll get to the final timestamp on the video as soon as I can find it here. And then, guys, I'm expecting about to end around 2 again. That's okay. We're at 2 hours, 2 minutes, 52 seconds. Perfect. 2 hours, 2 minutes, 52 seconds. Now I just have to find the Knucklehead show. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are not aware, the Knuckleheads had a show today with Drexel. With Drexel on. And that was although I don't think you can watch it because Viacom said there was content in there that's not allowed in America. So they had Drexel on today, though. I don't know what Viacom content there was. And so I couldn't tell you, but all right, I'm getting to the spot now. 2 hours, 2 minutes. We'll go to 2 hours, 2 minutes and about 30 seconds. That should be a good spot. But if that Knucklehead show comes back up, make sure you go check it out. Check out the Chrysidia's channel. Re-uploading the Drexel stream because YouTube hates black people. They do. So yeah, make sure when that re-upload goes up, you go and show them some love and watch the stream. Get to enjoy Drexel. I wanted to be on today, but I just couldn't. I was predisposed and not at home while the show was going on. So that's how that ended up. But I'm glad they had a good interview. And yeah, so give it a listen, watch, whatever you end up doing. Here we go. Oh my goodness. We are back to Knuckleheads number 9. And this is let's do the theater mode. Little enlargement, if you will. Oh, okay. And then right before we get started, let me hit some of these super chats that have come in. Chris Stone sent 3 super chats. The first one didn't say anything. I think the first one was supposed to say something, but the message didn't come through. Because the second one picks up with show and keeping up with the Vic case since the start. I would have lost one of my best friends from the overwhelming stress this has caused him. I sent you an email the other day looking for a Florida attorney to seek legal counsel, preferably with a background for defamation to deal with this. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. You've helped me keep an innocent man alive, and for that I am grateful. It is my pleasure. I will respond to your email. I got to find someone who is in that practice area. I don't offhand know of an attorney who does defamation in Florida, but I have a couple people to reach out to, and I might be able to find someone. I will respond to your email with that. So, Macca Jr. says, Ron and Monica started all this after watching Mad Max 2. Just walk away. You can put an end to all this. Just say sorry and we will spare your career. Just walk away. Clearly didn't work, you pahucks. Keep up the good work. And speaking of pahucks, it is Canada Day. And since pahucks rhymes with pucks and pucks are hockey related, I want to say happy Canada Day to Canada. And I know Canada's big claim to fame is one, that Trudeau is a woman in blackface, and two, that they once burned down the White House. And let me just suggest, depending how things go in November, we may require your services again, because this country is going to communism. And that, you know, if the tide isn't turned, that we may require your help. Phoenix Orem says, happy Royal Canadian Yaxman Day, Nick. Did you see the Lemoyne Sings the Greatest Hits vid yet? No. People have sent it to me, but I have not watched it yet. How did your shots go? My shots. Oh, they were great. And by great, I mean they were mildly terrible, because the fluid in them is rather thick, and it felt like injecting my veins with Jello. Did the guests like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet? Yes. Yes, very much. They also like that you can get 999 lives just by pressing the button over and over. I have the worst setup ever for mobile viewers. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And then he says, I bought the Marvel Superheroes machine, now waiting on it. Well, have fun. They are cool. And they're fun. They're certainly fun for the kids, and they're great for nostalgia as well. Miss Metro Exo Kitty says, you better stop talking in general and delete your channel before Ron finds October rains and turns you into a financial planter. Nicky boy. Oh, dang. No, please don't do that. Bald Eagle 1787 says, in order for there to be a Cold War, there has to be two equal superpowers. It's more like the Western coalition fighting China and the Opium Wars, no contest. Poor Ron trying to act big when he's just a speck. Yeah, I guess. Again, I'm not going to get involved in like the big talk on the internet. That's kind of, it's just goofy. But okay, you know, whatever. This guy's just a weirdo. That's where I'm left. And then Mithrin Emmer says, thoughts on state Supreme Courts canceling this year's bar exam and allowing for diploma privilege to practice. Terrible. Anybody who passed the bar should want to make every other future lawyer suffer. And so that's all I got. I don't like it. I hope it's a limited permit to practice and that they will then be required to take the bar next year or when the state of emergency is over. But I have a feeling it's not. So here we go. Okay. Oh, and there's one more to read right now. Oh, by the way, yeah, guys, after the show, we are going over to Twitch for a watch party. And I'm trying to think what we're going to watch. We're going to watch Bruce Lee, Fists of Fury, also known in America as Chinese Connection. So that will be great. The Pie Baker says, it's dangerous to do a Ronversation. Get some blood out of your alcohol system. I'm probably not going to be drinking a ton tonight. Mithrin Emers follows up with, would it mean that people who previously failed can just practice now? Makes more problems than it solves. I mean, I suppose so, right? Because they don't get an opportunity to retake the bar. I see that Ty's in chat. Why is Ty saying no? No. Drunken Master isn't on Prime. I mean, we can if they ever bring it back to Prime. But, okay. Let's do this. We are back to the Knuckleheads podcast. Oh, Ty, you want to watch Fists of Fury with me? Well, we could do something else. There's some other ones. Maybe we'll watch Boondock Saints. You guys want to do Boondock Saints? That's a good one. There's also The Terminator. We'll watch something good. I'll save. Ty has requested Fists of Fury. I will wait. Someone has sent me instructions on how to separate out audio for a watch party. So I'll play around with that too, and we'll get it done. Okay, we'll watch something good. And let's do this before I just ramble on for the next 2.5 hours. Okay, so here's where we left off. Whoops, it's muted for me and you. Let me.
Didn't Vic seek therapy to the point he's on the medication moving forward? Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I really, from my perspective...
Real quick recap, I'm not going to expound on this. What Mr. Hop is asking right now is, you said if Vic did these things, that everything would be okay. Didn't he do all of the things that you said? That's what he's going with right now.
Didn't see this weeb war let up at all after that. So
yeah, and that is fair to say that. But if you
is
go
it
back
fair,
and
Ron?
look at like who was actually continuing to stoke the flames of the weeb war, if you look at my 400 tweets or any of the tweets, most of them were replies to others who kept attacking and
of course. And one of the few things you said as well is that you didn't know how Twitter works. You
lie. Let's be real about this. Ron is hiding behind this shield of, I didn't know how the internet worked. I didn't know how Twitter worked. His horse's entire persona is on Twitter, right? When she's not behind a microphone, when she's not in the studio, when she's not at a convention, she's on Twitter. That's how she engages people and their fans, and her fans, like the 4 fans and then the rest of the people that are out there that exist. This is a person with, I think at the time, over 50,000 Twitter followers. For him to suggest that he, and then by obvious extension, her, she or whatever, they don't know how the internet works in regards to Twitter, while they're retweeting, while they're replying in line, while they're starting up new threads, while they're high-fiving their bronies or whatever, while all that's going on, Ron is pretending that they have no idea how Twitter functions. It's just a flat-out lie. And it's an excuse. It's an excuse again for Ron to say, well, I was too stupid to realize I was defaming someone hundreds of times. Like, of course you were. You sat and engaged in Twitter for months. But by the way, I just want to point out that Vic's apology that Ron likes to point to and is the source, the genesis of this, was what, January 25th? 22nd? No, I think it was 22nd. And then the 25th was Ron's tweets or something like that. And then he was fired on the 29th. I didn't mention this until at earliest February 11th. And all this was still going on without me. I know I am the primogenitor of the paterfamilias or whatever of the entire situation. It's all my fault. I get it. But all this went on for weeks prior to me knowing about it at all. And the initial discussion I had about it was pretty preliminary. Just Doug Tenaple, who happened to be on the show that night. People had sent me some info and I kind of glanced around and that was it. Then we had the panel show a couple days later than that. Then, I didn't really get in. It was another couple days before I really started to do a lot of videos about what was going on. It's terrible. Anyway, so I just wanted to point out that Ron is flat out lying here about it. And he may not be consciously doing it. He may have just retroactively imposed a timeline to suit his interior narrative, but he's dishonest.
Basically getting a hand on the whole social media thing, so forth and so forth. And the thing is that from what I'm picking up on, mistakes are being made on all sides. But however, I believe the point behind all of this is to find a point where no one is actually going to hurt themselves or swallow a bullet or anything else stupid like that. And I think that's one of the few reasons why this broadcast and this conversation is moving forward. And the thing is, at the same time here, these are easy things to say, but it's difficult to move forward with. Now, here's another question for you. And then again, this is just from my own morbid curiosity for what it's worth. Have you called Nick
Rekieta? Oh, I believe I might have called and left him a voicemail on whatever was like a public voicemail.
Gotcha.
Whatever was registered online. So he might have.
Because what I'm sort of leading towards something here. One of the few things I've learned on a very...
Let me comment on that. Do you think if Ron called me and left a voicemail, I mean, that might have gotten its own video if that had happened? No. Or at least I don't recall. I wish I had a voicemail from Ron. That would have probably been very funny. But no. No, I think he called Ty's office on a Saturday or something early on, and then that was it. I don't know what. I'm not sure what he's talking about here. He may just be misremembering.
Personal level as well is if someone's making you out to be a monster, just do what's right. Do what's good, because the thing is that before, as we've been saying this whole broadcast, we can't control the acts of other people, but if you're doing what you can in an earnest effort to move forward in a positive manner, you're head and shoulders above whatever meathead person could say about you. And I think that's very, very important to us all to say. And I think that's more important than anything else. So the thing is, the way I look at it is that, again, if people are saying you're X, Y, and Z, and you're going out and proving them wrong,
right?
That's it. And also, it's the best way how to work out stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where it's like I know I've failed in different spots. And
all of the spots.
At one point, I shared a picture of a swatting that I thought was valid by a person that says she's a voice actor. I can't even remember her name.
Samantha Inuhart, and she is a voice actor, and she works with your personal effing fiance, Ron. She's
apology for sharing fake information. And I don't remember if I called or emailed or text Vic to apologize, because I said, hey, look, if I ever share anything that's fake, I will apologize.
Yeah.
And I did. And as you guys can probably tell, I literally will talk about anything people ask me, and it's because I like to be transparent. It makes my life easy. I can sleep easier. I don't have to remember shit. I just go. And whenever
which is why he constantly talks about all of the evidence that they have, right? All of that evidence, because you want to be transparent. It makes it easy. You don't have to remember stuff, so you just talk about it. So you just talk about it all the time. I mean, you never have to show it, I guess. You just talk about it.
Do stuff that is out of line. Call me out on that shit. And I have been aggressive and been an idiot and done stupid stuff.
A year, Ron.
And when I shared that, I owned up to that. And that's part of this whole thing. And people have been calling you out for a year. There is such a weird thing that got way out of line. We're talking millions of potential, like near $1 million for a disagreement that could have been done through a phone conversation.
Listen to how dishonest this is. Could have been done through like a phone conversation. You have the phone and the conversation. Vic doesn't have the conversation. Monica didn't use the phone. She used Twitter. Publicly using Twitter. There was no phone conversation about a disagreement. You guys accused him of assault on Twitter. Felipe Mouve says, I'm with Ron in this. Trying to contact Nick Rekieta is almost impossible. He doesn't read emails. His star status has gone to his head. It's not true. I read a lot of them. In fact, I got an email today. With the response. Vox Day's response. I guess it's his or whatever. The people in the lawsuit against Patreon, where Patreon has decided to sue and dox like 100 of its users. Vox Day's team, I think it's his team, has responded to that lawsuit, and they hired Mark Randazza to do it. So I've got to read through the document. It looks on a skim pretty well put together, but I might have to praise Randazza for doing something, and that'll be annoying. But, you know, if they put together a good document, then I will. But I haven't read it yet. So we'll be talking very soon. Very soon.
And this is the thing, Nick criticizes me for sending an email to his fan page that's run by his mother.
Yes. Why didn't you send it to him?
The right way.
That's not the right way. What? The right way is to send the email to the person. You go to the person, not to their fan page run by their mother. As you like to say, you disingenuous thing. As you like to say, Vic is pushing 60 years old. You make diaper jokes about him. You talk about how terrible he looks and how terrible he is. Despite the fact that, Ron, you've aged years in a matter of a month. You like to talk a lot about how bad Vic looks and how old he is. And yet you're treating him like a child talking to his mother or something. That's your point? Is that your goal was to get his mother to intervene or intercede because she runs his fan group? Which I don't think she runs his fan group. I think she's like a moderator or something. Maybe. I don't know. But again, why don't you just reach out to him?
Send an email saying, hey, here's my information. Let's have a conversation.
Why didn't you send it to Vic?
For whatever reason, he decided not to engage. Way before the lawsuit started. This was in February. And that was his.
No, how do you know it was his choice? Do you know he got it? Do you know anything about it? Do you know at all? Did you call him up and say, hey, Vic, did you ever get that email? I don't know if he's ever seen it. I know I've seen it. But I don't know. I honestly have no idea if Vic ever saw that email. But again, think of... You didn't even have the dignity to send it to him. Oh my God, what a
choice. But I would have loved the opportunity to kind of get on a level and just communicate and say, hey, this is where our truth lies. This is how the actions that
our truth lies is that's a funny thing, right? This is where our truth lies. Well, I think we can point out where your truth lies quite often, Ron.
Have happened, influenced other people in their perception. Cool, let's move on.
Oh, let's move on.
So there's one thing I do.
Your career is over. Just look, because of what we said, your entire career is over. You'll probably never be back in the industry. A lot of people think that you're a sexual assaulting monster, and that you assaulted my personal effing fiance. Now, let's just move on from that. Let's just have a chat and let's move on.
I want to ask, and full disclosure, this is probably a better question for Monica than it is you.
Right.
But you're the one that I have here right now. So because you're going on the line of, if he just reached out and blah, blah, blah. There was, as far as I can remember, there was an email that Vic sent before all of this happened to Monica asking her if he could talk, like what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. Like what happened with that situation?
She was told not to interact at that point. And I think that was in the part of the court record.
Yeah, the part of the court record where you guys in Funimation lied about having control, about Funimation not having any control over communications or anything because Monica's an independent contractor, but an independent contractor was told not to interact with a third party who is no longer an employee or otherwise a contractor of the organization. That one, Ron, the one that you guys lied about, the scope of Funimation's influence over Monica Rial, that one, that's weird. I remember that too. But again, so this underscores the entire thing. Still, she was told not to contact him, so she didn't. And the next thing he's gonna say is, but I'm not from Funimation, I could contact him. Why couldn't she? She's not their employee. They can't tell you not to contact someone who's not in their organization. They can't do it because they're not employees.
Is that they were instructed not to communicate with anyone in the investigation.
It's not true. That's not true. That's not true at all. Of course, because Ron, you were in the investigation. So were the Yost twins. That's from Tammy Denbo's affidavit. So we know that's not true because you still post creepy messages on the Yost twins' Instagrams or whatever. And so does Monica. You guys all still communicate. All of the people in that investigation are communicating.
Didn't communicate back. She was asked not to. I'm not fucking employed by those people, so I can do whatever I want.
So at that point, then why didn't she reach out to him?
Because she was asked not to.
No, why didn't you reach out to him?
I did.
No.
In February. That was in January, whenever it began to start happen. But then in February, when I reached out to him, I wanted to get this dialed in because I could see how crazily in the beginning, I figured it was this, that, and the other is going to be what it is. But then when I saw that,
do you notice that's not words that make any sense? At the beginning, I noticed it was, I thought it was this, that, and the other, and that's going to be what it is. That's not a thought. It wasn't a thought that you can have. That's just words put together in an order. Not even in a good order. That's just words in some semblance of an order that is possible. You could throw those words, like write them down on paper, chop them up into individual words, throw them, and that's the sentence you came up with.
It was getting this crazy onslaught of social media shit. I'm like, man, let me get on this ahead of time because I think there's...
Crazy onslaught of social media started on the 16th of January. Ron is lying again. They entered the crazy onslaught of social media. And I keep saying Ron is lying. I don't know if he's consciously lying, but you have two options. Ron is either lying on purpose or he's divorced from reality. And his credibility in either case should go through the floor. This man, by the way, this man's job, I don't know if you guys know this, real estate licensure is similar to lawyering in one specific way. Public displays of dishonesty are really, really bad and actually an ethical violation. At least they can amount to an ethical violation because a person has to have trust. We know that Ron really values his status as a loan originator. Very, very heavy thing to be. But part of that is a duty of honesty and trustworthiness and truthfulness, because otherwise you get predatory lending practices and people don't have faith in the profession, etc. So, and I'm not saying that this is a breach of Ron's ethical duties or anything. What I'm trying to lay a foundation for here is that Ron purports that he takes himself very seriously as a loan officer, and part of that duty that he owes to the public is one of truth and candor. But he doesn't uphold that in any sort of way in this scenario. He just doesn't. And that's because, well, he's just dishonest.
Miscommunication happening. Because I was seeing people like saying rape and this and that. I'm like, bro, like, if I go to my work and I do this and I do this and I'm going to get terminated. That shit happens. Like,
but that's not what he did. That's the problem. That's not what happened.
You guys would never have seen that demonstration if Nick didn't release the video, but we knew behind.
That's not the demonstration that he did. You just lied again. He went like this, bouncing hair, not grabbing and pulling. That's what you did. You're so dishonest.
Behind the scenes stuff that had happened. And so it's like, what he did was enough to get.
Also, no, you're not. Because whatever happened between Vic and Jamie Markey, Vic wasn't fired. That was, I think, what she alleges like 2011. There was no firing. There wasn't anything that happened because of that. Because it wasn't anything. No one thought it was, including Jamie Markey. I think just the fat cells have overpowered her ability to tell the truth.
Terminated or separated from their contract, but maybe not go to jail or court. So it's like when that's in the deposition, that's in all the paperwork where I said, I was like, this has been made into a mountain when it was a molehill.
It's not a mole. You made it to the mountain. You guys did. You made this into a thing where a man's entire life was destroyed in 3 days. Oh, it's just a molehill.
In a sense, where
let me briefly expand on that. I can tell you why. I'm a professional therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. I can tell you exactly what Ron's doing here. It was a molehill for Ron, right? It wasn't important to him. It wasn't actually a big deal for Ron to ruin this man's career. He had no problem with it, no qualms about it, and no beef with it. So Ron is just interspersing his own opinion into this thing, or interspersing is probably wrong. He's injecting his own perspective into Vic's situation. Look, it was a molehill for us. And then people made it into a mountain for us. For Vic, it was a mountain the entire time. How could it have ever been anything less than a mountain? When people are coming out and accusing you publicly of sexual misconduct and either assault or sexual assault, and you didn't do those things, and they're just accusing you and accusing you and accusing you on Twitter, and people are piling on, and you're getting fired from your job, and your conventions are canceling you, that's your other job, you're losing all of your income. Well, that's just a molehill. No. Ron is such a self-centered prick that he can't even, for a moment, step into the shoes of Vic with a shred of empathy. He can't do it. He's incapable of doing that. Mithrin Emmer says, Nick, as an alternative, Ron is so disconnected from the truth that he actually believes what he is saying. He constantly casts himself as the hero, so he remembers whatever casts himself in the best light. Yes, and you said that better than I was trying to suggest that earlier, and I think I've said it on other streams, but I know people who so convince themselves that reality is not what it is that they actually end up believing it. I saw someone walking just outside my chamber door. Oh, okay. That seems reasonable. All right, here we go.
I'm not making less of the people that were hurt by him, but I'm talking.
Notice, again, not empathizing with Vic here. He's saying molehill, he means himself and everybody else. The overwhelming majority of allegations against Vic, even if taken as true, okay? As a thought exercise, we will take all of the allegations against Vic as true. The overwhelming majority of them amount to a minor inconvenience for someone at one point in their life for approximately 15 seconds. He hugged me, and I didn't want one. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, what? What is the, what's the issue here? Like, well, I was uncomfortable. Okay, sorry. I'm uncomfortable when I sit on a park bench because they're not comfortable. I'm uncomfortable when an old lady looks at me at a mall or something, like, right? All sorts of things. I'm uncomfortable waiting in line at McDonald's and watching the car in front of me get 500 things for one fat person. Like that, lots of stuff makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't mean I get to ruin people's careers. Ugh.
Talking about the stuff that's in the lawsuit, right? That I know that I've touched and I've seen. This could have been something taken care of in a couple of conversations, ego being dropped on all sides, and just talk. But unfortunately,
what ego is on Vic's side? Has there been a single display of ego on Vic's side? In fact, one of Ron's favorite streams of mine, my rant stream about Vic, I think that was part of my problem, is that I felt that Vic should be more assertive, because we were like a year into the suit and stuff like that. And I thought that it was time for Vic to really come out and publicly assert some things. And he did some of that, but obviously he doesn't agree with that assessment, which is fine. But what ego on Vic's side? He didn't say anything. He sued you. He went through your deposition. He answered all the questions. He hasn't made like bold bravado statements or anything. He's just trying to work. And you guys won't let him. Nova Zero says, was this manlet one of the a-holes that went and destroyed people's lives circa 2008? Was he part of all that? I have no idea. Did his smileys go out of control with his customers that year? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how much lending was going on in the Tuttle Group, and I don't know if he was a real estate person at that time. Those people deserve prison time, just saying. No, and actually, I don't think he was a loan originator back in 2008. If I remember right, that was before his relationship with Monica. And his relationship with Monica, #problematic, was predicated on when he was the property manager and she was renting a place in the building in which he was a property manager. I believe that is the genesis of their personal relationship, where Ron was actually in a place of authority over her ability to live, and then suddenly they're dating. And honestly, without a scintilla of sarcasm or irony, people like Ron and Monica would consider that abuse in any other circumstance. But I believe that was after 2008. Romeo Garbo says, if Ron does come to Minnesota, you should go at him like those robots in Chopping Mall. What up? What up? Come get some, cuckaboy. Thank you. Have a nice day. Miss Metro Exo Kitty says, did Ron let Monica peg him while he played The Last of Us 2 as they were serenaded by Celine Dion? No. Asbill Lant 100 says, strange that they think Monica's experience, which was so horrifying that Monica was scared to go to KamehamehaCon 2019, where Vic was attending, as just a mere molehill. Well, I mean, there is that whole thing, right? There's that inconsistency. But also remember that she had no problem hanging out with Vic for the next decade as well. So, all right, back to it.
A lawsuit happened, and then we had to stand our ground and do whatever it took, because settling in a sense, would have not represented the situation correctly.
There it is. Again, back to the lie of being able to work things out and resolve it and settle it and do all of that, right? It's never going to happen because because egos could be dropped on both sides, except they couldn't be, could they, Ron? Egos couldn't be dropped. But here's the thing. I wonder if there was someone who for 2 months prior to the settlement or to the lawsuit said, settle it out, call before there's a lawsuit. You're going to get sued. Call, work this out. Don't do this. You can't afford it. It's awful. It takes forever. No one likes these things. You're going to get sued. You can be sued for this. Don't do the lawsuit. It's not going to be good for anybody. Work this out. If only there was someone screaming that several times, offering to be the person who would make the connection. Remember, Ron, while I called Nick, you know how I know Ron didn't call me? You know how I know for a fact Ron didn't call me? I would have immediately gotten them in touch to have discussions without a lawsuit. I only said it 50, 100 times prior to Beard and Harris being announced as the party that was representing Vic, because that didn't happen until it changed on the GoFundMe. Prior to that, I said, look, I can get you in touch with Vic's legal team. I can do this. I can help facilitate this conversation. Never happened.
And that's where it's like, we didn't lie. We stood our ground and we believed what we believed. And he did what he did. And that's part of battle, right? I was willing to pay the consequences of my words.
No, you're not.
Anything. If we lost, fuck it. I got to pay a bill. Cool. Let's write a check. If I win, cool. But that's the part of knowing the responsibility as a licensed.
That's another lie, by the way.
You know, like, Ken, you described it pretty clearly on why it would be stupid for me to try to sue you, right? And that same, if we apply those same principles to this situation, how dare anybody take advantage of somebody emotional and say that this would make sense? Because if we apply your progression of thought to why it would be dumb for me to sue you, if we look at this objectively, apply those principles to this situation, what benefit would it have been to bring the lawsuit for Vic to try to sue us?
You know what I mean? Completely different situations.
Applying the principle that you used, and it was brilliant. And I was going to reply, but I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to let this sit here because it's actual fact. Maybe I did reply. I don't remember. But you spelled it out pretty clearly in your step-by-step instruction why it would be dumb for me to try to sue you. But in that same sense, if we apply it to Vic in this situation, would Vic win? You know
Catch you later,
like,
Ken A.
Just like
the reason it would apply differently,
thank you, Ken,
is because the statements I made have not caused you irreparable harm. Right. They may be offensive, they may hurt your feelings, they may piss you off, but they haven't lost your job, they haven't impacted your income. Whereas from Vic's side, the statements made appeared to have been the catalyst for loss of conventions, loss of job, the investigation. All of that has a root that can be traced back to your tweets or Monica's tweets or everyone else's tweets in some form or fashion.
Weird.
That is where there's a line that can be drawn that says, well,
oh yeah, I guess
so. Because if I post whatever about you, unless your employer comes to you, or unless it somehow gets to them and goes, well, this therapist online said this and that, and Ron's not worthy, not capable of being employed here. We need to pull his license. Then you probably have a better shot versus than just the way it's happened now. But I think from Vic's side, there's a way to trace back to the origins of his loss of employment and his irreparable harm back to you guys. Again, the validity that it's not the person.
He cannot wait for Ken to stop talking. It is great. And this is something that I have seen other people do. I've seen some people who are like this as well. Also, I am sometimes I do this. I don't mean to, but sometimes I do this as well, where you stop listening a long time ago, and all you're listening for now is when they're done. That's it. Ron has been there for the past minute of Ken talking. He is not listening to a word that Ken is saying anymore. He is waiting for Ken to finish because he has his brilliant reply, or should I say his scripted reply. This is probably within one of his talking points.
Purpose.
But that's where it goes back to the TCPA stage. If it could be tracked to our specific...
Had nothing to do with what Ken just said. That answer had nothing to do with what Ken just said.
Specific statements. If you look at the history, and you correctly put that it was an opinion in your evaluation of why it would be futile for me to try to sue you. If somebody has years of videos online, years of certain things, how can it be a possibility to pinpoint that a tweet that had 2 or 3 likes was more impactful?
2 or 3 likes. Monica's tweet had thousands of likes, Ron. And your tweets had more than 2 or 3.
Than the admittance of some level of something that needed to be apologized for that came out before that anything that we had said that has 10 or 15,000 likes and 10,000 reshares. How can you say, and that's why if you look at the documents, it's in record. How was that ever going to get past the basic level of the lawsuit if this happened first? And that's
because up until that point, Vic hadn't lost his job. And the thing that you're not owning up to, Ronald, is that you and Monica were acutely aware that up until that point, Vic had not lost his job, which is why Monica's accusations accelerate and get worse. And they start with, look, it happened to me. And very little out, like I'm just backing up my friends. It's happened to me. There's problems in the industry, hoping that would waft over and be enough, but that wasn't enough, was it? So then it was another thing, then another thing, then another thing. Then it was calling Funimation. Then it was participating in this thing. Then it was more tweets and more things being said. And it went from a jelly bean accusation that was sent to Funimation, right? The jelly bean thing. And then suddenly it's assault in a hotel room. That's where it ended up. Because it wasn't good enough. And you guys were calling for Funimation to make public statements. You guys were pushing on this. And Monica has been working on this since 2018. And I bet you know that too, Ron. But you guys didn't do it effectively the first times. And to your credit, you at least tried to have him canceled in private. That was good. Mighty big of you to do that. But it didn't work. So then you went public. Then you escalated and built and built and built. And it was 3 women. Then it was 12 women. Then it was 100 women. Ron, you're just a liar. And you're bad at it.
That's what I'm saying is why I feel like he was taken advantage of.
By you!
There's 2 parts to that. There's 2 parts to that. If you look at that, so as I mentioned before, those years of accusations or whatever, they've never caused him loss of job, loss of income that's been measurable.
Right.
What happened in January, February, that caused a loss of it. But
what happened in January, February? That was
the number of likes on one tweet.
No.
One specific statement.
What happened that was unique in January and February that didn't happen before? Because as you said, accusations hasn't caused him any loss. So what is unique?
Up to January, though, that's the thing.
So if I may, just briefly, before we get too far away from this point, I've wanted to ask two things. Two things I wanted to ask. One's more for Monica, but you could probably, because you both.
Oh, watch Ron's face. If this is the part I think it is, make sure you watch Ron's face here.
Part of this conversation.
You said she'd come on the show if you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to have her. We'd be happy to have her. But like, I understand she was busy this weekend, so that's okay. We can set something up for a future date. Yeah. So first one, obviously, be happy for you to answer these after I've done asking them. So the first one would be all of the stuff that happened with say Funimation and the investigations, all of the evidence that the public has, all of the evidence that has been brought forward from both yourself and from other means, it shows that Monica was the one that brought forward all of the complaints that led to Vic's termination at Funimation. That was the first one.
Oh, did you see it? Hold on. I'll pause it right on there.
Complaints that led to Vic's termination at Funimation. That was the first.
There it is. Oh, you guys put that together, did you? Did you? Seems like Monica was the source of all of that. Because you know who didn't go complaining to Funimation? The Yost twins. And it doesn't appear that Sarah Breckmeyer did either. They didn't go complaining to Funimation. Monica did. And then Ron and Monica had to probably frantically call the Yost twins and ask them to say something about it. Because Tammy Denbo then contacted the Yost twins. Oh.
First one. The second one was in terms of directly affecting like tangible loss. There was evidence brought forward, and I don't know, maybe you could confirm or deny it, was that there was text messages to the owner of Kamehacon that resulted in a direct termination at that time, which eventually got rescinded. But the fact that, and you can say it's opinion, but like I can say that like Ken is an asshole, right? I can say that, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I can't say that Ken is a felon or that there's going to be felony charges. That's very different than just than having an opinion. So, I wanted to hear your opinion on those.
Sure. And the thing is, again,
Miss Metro Exo Kitty says, Nick, be fair, Ron did call you. It was just on the Fisher Price toy kitchen phone that Monica brought him brought him while he plays dress up and eats his chicky nuggies. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Looking at the situation, and like my text messages with Kamehacon, it's so if you look at the situation where there's some communication, there was a 10 or 11 day gap where he said he was going to send me some documentation on a sponsorship package and all the stuff, right? So in my opinion, he waits 11 days to show me anything, and then he says, oh well, I was waiting on this and that. I'm like, with this and that, I'm done, right?
It's not what you said. That is not at all what you said in those text messages. You liar.
I leave it at that.
Nope.
He continues to, and I say, with the Vic coming and this, I don't remember all the texts.
There was, with Vic coming and this. With Vic coming was actually the and this. There wasn't an and this. It was with Vic coming. Can't sponsor the table with Vic coming. There wasn't an and this. There was no mention of like, oh, it's been 11 days. It was with Vic coming.
I'm done. That is my right as in right to association, my right as somebody who's there to say why I'm not going to do something, right?
No, not if that tortiously interferes with their contract. Not if you're trying to utilize that association to improperly interfere in another person's business. And that's what you were doing. You were trying to use that to induce a breach of contract with Kamehacon, between Kamehacon and Vic. And you did. You actually did it.
Well, and that's totally fine. I think that what the thing that was at issue for the lawsuit perspective of things was that you had stated in the text message, from what I can recall, I'm sure somebody on the internet can corroborate it or pull it up, but basically you stated on the text message that charges are coming. Now, did you get that information from somebody?
I don't know if I said the word charges are coming, but I think
I can second that. That statement.
Yeah, you did. You did, Ron. You did that. Not only in the text messages, you also did it on Twitter in so many words.
It was made.
Okay, well, I have the record. We'll have to pull it up. So
no, we won't. Don't have to pull it up,
charges, but I know I mentioned about investigations, like legal investigation, because there is, like, I'm talking to lawyers, we're talking to this.
What legal investigation was going on when you were texting Kamehacon? Another lie. Like, another lie. They're not talking to lawyers at this point. Remember? Because Kamehacon, all these places canceled Vic before we did anything.
There's an investigation going on. Mm-hmm. I think I might have mentioned people are coming forward, but whatever it is, that's still something that I'm allowed to say because it is an opinion. I don't know how all this is going to go. It's a private conversation that I'm having with somebody who's egging on the conversation, asking questions, pointing towards it. And what's going to be very fun is when this is over, you know what? I would love it if it gets past anything because we have audio.
Lie. Now, he's going to do this thing. This is his internet tough guy routine. I would love it if this happened because we're going to do this and this. We got this nuke and that nuke, and we're going to get him here and here. Drop it now. All of this stuff would have saved you $200,000 of legal fees. It would have saved you so much stress. All of it. All of this stuff they could have put this stuff out if it's true, right? Let's say I'm lying. That's because that's the implication, I guess, is that I'm lying about this, or people are lying or wrong or whatever. All they had to do to correct it was just put out, look, we have a phone call. Here it is. Here's the recorded phone call. Because he's going to claim that in a little bit. Right now, actually. You have a recorded phone call. Why didn't you release it? Why didn't you turn it over on Discovery either? Oh, wait. They have a recorded phone call about Vic. And they didn't turn that over. Huh. Felipe Mube says, Nick, can these lies be used in the trial? How do you interpret the silence of the other two clowns in the call? I get angry. Nobody calls his stuff. Look, the people in the call, all three of the people in the call have this delicate task. They have this delicate task, and there are different ways to approach it. And people have noticed a difference between like this interview and the interview that was on DA Talks' channel, and then the subsequent interview Ron did back on the Knuckleheads. There are different approaches to it, and Ron can just leave, or Ron can shut down, or Ron can get very defensive and stonewall. All of those things can happen if you don't handle this in a delicate sort of way. If all three of these people pile on to Ron, you're not going to get any information out of him. Would be one way to approach it. Now, that might not be correct, but calling him out and getting into a back and forth might not be productive. And that's probably the sort of approach they were taking, if I had to guess. But, Emish on DA Talks' channel, he was more direct and bluntly confronting Ron. He was more hostile. And you got different kinds of results. So maybe it would have worked, maybe not. Hindsight's 20/20 on how you conduct an interview with someone who's not your friend. I mean, if it's your friend, you can be pretty confident about the things you're going to address and how they're going to go. You can pregame it and do all sorts of stuff, kind of figure out if there are limits on things or any triggers. With Ron, you can't do that. It's all a guessing game. So.
Of that motherfucker recorded conversations. So when this is all over, one way or the other, if it goes any further, guess what's coming out? His recorded phone calls. Because in Texas, you're allowed to record somebody.
It'll come out
as long as you know about it. It's one-party authorization. So Monica knew about it. So
now that you've disclosed it in public that you had this at the time when you were supposed to disclose it, and for whatever reason your lawyers and you chose not to because it's so good for the case, it'll come out. Yeah, I would guess, because if it goes past, if it does go past appeals, it comes back, then I'm guessing that's one of the first things on the list that gets requested in the request for additional discovery. And by the way, there's all sorts of things that they never turned over from the first discovery. So I'm guessing that will come out. We'll see how that goes for you.
When Monica had a conversation with him, guess what's recorded? There's a reason we wanted to depose that little bastard. And so one way or the other, that shit's coming. And people are like, why don't you release it now? Well, we have a lawsuit online, but when this...
What damage could it possibly do to your lawsuit? We have a lawsuit on the line. I know what damage it could do. It'll make you look even worse. Even worse. That's what damage it could do. And that's what you mean by we have a lawsuit on the line.
The shit's over. It's going to be fun. So that situation, you're going to get to hear behind the scenes. And Chris Latosh is going to be, I feel bad for that guy.
Why? Nobody cares about Chris Latosh, like in the grand scheme of things. He also doesn't run Kamehacon anymore. So, because it was bought by a voice actor's family. Just so you guys know, by the way, if you want to know why Vic was not that it ended up mattering because of COVID, but why Vic was not invited back to Kamehacon despite having, multi-hour long lines out the door. A voice actor's family bought out Chris Latosh from Kamehacon. I can't remember the voice actor's name. Let me see. Kamehacon 2020. Who was supposed to be there? Voice actor. I'll say to be announced. Shoot, guests. They don't have it listed. Oh yeah, because now it's up to the 2021. It's moved to January 2021. Let me see if there's an about section real quick. Info. Contact us, maybe? It doesn't say. It doesn't say. I wish I could tell you. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll figure it out. I've got it down there somewhere. But yeah, it was bought by a voice actor's family, and you might want to know these things, right? It's not Sabbath. If it was Sabbath, I would remember. It's someone who's not important to me at all. But you'd probably want to know this, right? Like that'd be something self-interested, right? If someone was putting on, a voice actor was putting on a convention, and you didn't, and they were promoting themselves in their own work or whatever, you'd want to know. But no, it's not Chris Sabat. It's a guy whose name I was not overly familiar with. Let's see. Felipe Mube says, Nick, can these lies use in the trial? Oh, wait, I read that one. Okay, sorry. All right, here we go. No, it's not Sabbath or Sean Schemmel or Monica or any of the big players. It's someone that I was not familiar with, but it's someone in the clique, so to speak. I can't tell you who it is because I don't remember. If it was someone big, I would know. But anyway, okay. Nova Zero says, does this Kakaki actually think any recording ever has made him look good? Don't answer. I'm going to watch some anime or something. Getting lactose intolerant from this lol cow. Enjoy. Someone mentioned Eric Vale. It might actually... I'm not sure. I'll just find the answer. I'll just go back to my source on it and figure out the answer. I can't do it live right now, but we've got another, you know, we'll have another Ronversation coming and I'll just do it there.
But we're going to get to see some stuff behind the scenes. And this is where it's like, we put everything on the line because it's like, let's go as far as this bitch wants to go. If we want to.
You didn't put everything on the line. You didn't put this phone call on the line.
Go to court, trial, because we know we have the receipts. And people are like, where's the receipts? Just release the receipts. It'll stop it. Us releasing receipts wouldn't stop shit because we weren't in control. Someone else decided to sue. So
this isn't true at all. If you are suing someone for a thing that you think they did, and they can definitively prove that they didn't do that, and they give you the receipt as proof that they didn't do it, you will probably not go on spending thousands and thousands of dollars to sue them, going forward. You'll say, oh, we got bad info. This isn't worth pursuing. We'll fold the lawsuit at that point. And you can do that. Can you guarantee that they will? No, but being presented with incontrovertible proof that that the person you're accusing didn't do it is a good reason for almost anybody to not persist in litigation that's going to cost them time, treasure, emotion, all of those things. This is the most nonsensical. Well, he was suing us. Yeah. But you give the other party, that's actually the point of discovery. By the way, that's the real point of discovery and why discovery is often seen as a collaborative process. Even though it's adversarial and you want to exercise your maximum amount of rights, you want to comply to discovery to the largest extent possible, especially if that discovery shows that you weren't doing the wrong thing. That's when it becomes collaborative and you can say, no, here's the info. Let me give you all of it. Let me show you why this is dumb, why we're going to bury you in the ground, why you're wasting your time and money, why you should move on, why you should target this other person who did it, whatever it may be. Any of those reasons, you want to deliver those reasons to the plaintiff as soon as possible, because the plaintiff likely, unless they're a legit crazy, will not pursue something that has no fruit for them and could only cost them money.
So then we have the process that has to go in place.
No, it doesn't have to.
But when this is over, we have a lot of stuff and we have these things. So we'll see what happens.
Was it stuff that Vic said or was it stuff that other people have said?
A mixture of both, especially some of the things where they try to discredit the situation with Monica, balcony, patio, this or that. Well, cool.
Balcony, patio, this or that. All those things that she said existed that don't. Those things. Okay. Yeah. We've got the proof. The proof's already been posted all over Kiwi Farms. They've got photos of the hotel because Google Earth exists.
let's post the photos of what's actually there.
Yeah, do it. Post those photos.
The communication with Slatosh, phone records, all these things.
All these things. Two things, by the way, were all of these things.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to the point of the lawsuit where we had to have all of this because they couldn't even overcome the very first barrier of entry. In Texas, there's a process to depose people before a lawsuit's ever filed.
This is a problem that I've wanted to address for a while. If you try to depose, at least prior to the TCPA amendment that occurred at the end of 2019, under the TCPA that was in existence at the time, if you try to depose a hostile party outside of a lawsuit, they can TCPA you on the deposition. That's it. They can TCPA your deposition. So who's he supposed to depose? Who's he supposed to do that with? If you try and get pretrial discovery, pretrial depositions on people who are outside of the Flower Mound area, outside of Tarrant County, or worse, outside of the state, what Texas mechanism is going to help you depose, say, Mars Girl in California, who, by the way, could file an anti-slap? Just resist the deposition subpoena and cost you thousands of dollars, right? And then you may not get it. There's no Texas apparatus to overcome the apparatus to prevent what's going on. Doesn't matter. You could just all of this nonsense about pretrial discovery being done in Texas. On this thing, it would have been likely TCPA'd. Likely TCPA'd. And by the way, Vic was re-invited to KamehaCon in what, April? He was re-invited to KamehaCon in April. I think the beginning of April, and KamehaCon happened on like April 20th or something like that, 22nd. I don't remember the exact dates. But do you notice when that affidavit from Chris Slatosh was signed? It was like, September 30th or whatever. It was like the last day for the TCPA. Now, I know some of you out there may think that everything in this entire lawsuit was being written on the day it was due, but I've got a spoiler warning for you. The documents that have come out, even if you don't like them, were not cobbled together in a workday. They just weren't. That being said, all of the time you've actually developed some sort of relationship. You've come to an agreement on getting Vic back, and they still didn't have an affidavit until the very end. That tells me something. And again, you may think, or anybody out there may think that well, they just thought of it on the last day and decided to ask then, and that's what happened. But I have a lingering suspicion, just knowing how this stuff works, that Chris Slatosh didn't want to say anything because nobody who's not in the lawsuit wants to come out and say a bunch of stuff unless they've got a predisposed hatred towards the other party. Like you got Faisal Ahmed or whatever. He doesn't like Vic. He hasn't liked Vic for a long time. And he's siding with the industry, right? He's siding with Funimation and giving his thing. He gives the safe answer. Slatosh isn't. Slatosh would be working against Funimation, who he requires Funimation voice actors for KamehaCon. It's so simple, right? It's so easy. You could just get these things. No, you can't. You can't do it. Plus, asking any of the other convention owners, please state under oath that you breached your contract with my client so that we have an affidavit saying you did. That'd be great. Please do that. I mean, you're still within the statute of limitations for a contract dispute. And I mean, if you did provide that affidavit and say you breached the contract, we could certainly file a contract case against you and enforce performance of at least the minimum, and we'd win in a heartbeat. But go ahead and put that down under oath. Please do that. And that was one of the most annoying things that Chup said in the hearing was, oh, you could just you could have just gotten an affidavit from another convention owner. No, you can't. They just breached a contract. Why would they write that down under oath?
You can get affidavits, and that's what the judge pointed to Ty. Like, why didn't you get affidavits from these conventions?
In Knox v. Taylor, a tortious interference case I've talked a lot about in regards to the Ya Boy Zach's lawsuit, Comicsgate lawsuit, right? In Knox v. Taylor, the court lays out this exact argument and says how it really doesn't give too much credibility to a breaching party's reasons for breaching. Because they just breached a contract. And so most of them aren't even willing to put it down on paper, and their words that go down on the paper are suspect. That's from Knox v. Taylor. That's from the Texas Supreme Court, Knox v. Taylor. So Judge Chup stating that was not only just silly, it's wrong, and it's opposed to the opinion of the Texas Supreme Court. And of course, Ron is not going to bring that up either. But
go back and look at the transcripts. He gave the answer why. There's a process to do this stuff. And that's where it's like he deserved better counsel, because it would have never gotten to where it got if they did the proper legal work, because this was never about proving his innocence. It was trying to prove us wrong, and it would never happen because we spoke the truth. And that's the frustrating part.
Oh, now it's the truth.
Our truth is our truth.
Our truth
is our truth. The people spoke their truth.
Their truth.
How are you going to stop it? And that's what sucks about this whole thing, is because we're in a circle jerk debate that would never end in the result that some people want, because it was never the topic or the forum for that,
Well, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Oh, thank you. So let me ask you this. So, one of my hobbies is I like legal stuff. So, and that was one thing I was pursuing the idea of going to law school at one point. I ended up not doing it. But I do like law, and it's a fun thing. It's something I've been into before all this. I can say pretty confidently that the process of the TCPA hearing did not follow the statute.
No, it didn't. Ken's right here, by the way. Ken's got it.
There was...
Ken, I don't mean to laugh at you, but that we hired the literal best.
Ken, I don't mean to laugh at you. Swarm069 says, the more I look at Ron, the more I realize that he has a Patrick Bateman face. Empty and lifeless eyes and a fake smile. Kind of like a machine trying to mimic a human. It's creepy. You know what? He's going to go with this. He's going to do this again. We hired the literal experts on TCPA. You did. And he was not treated well. Go to the transcript, Ron. He wasn't treated well by Chup either. Chup didn't want to hear from Lemons at all. It was actually kind of painful. I thought Chup was pretty rude to Lemoyne, which made me laugh. It made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. But he dismisses what he's starting to say right away. He says, I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about that. Let's do this. Lemoyne's presentation had nothing to do with how the hearing went. You didn't care about the dumpster fire on the first page of my PowerPoint. You didn't care about any of that at all.
In the country for TCPA.
I understand that. I understand that.
Exactly the way TCPA goes.
Well, no, not so much from your lawyer's side. I'm not talking about Lemoyne. I'm speaking from the judge's side. The judge mishandled the steps that were meant to go through the process.
Ron acting like he has any idea or has researched a shred of how the TCPA operates. He hasn't. He has no idea. All he's going to do, I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, he's going to say, look, you got all these lawyers on Law Twitter, and they said it went the right way, so it did.
Ken,
And
that is laughable, bro.
Bro.
Explain to me, you're very frustrated by this.
Why does this guy use bro?
It seems like this upset
I'm not
you.
frustrated. I'm just laughing because you're in a
You're
lane. You obviously
You're actually not laughing. That's the interesting thing. I'm just laughing. I mean, he did his one fake laugh. And then this. That's not laughing. Ron is a weirdo.
there has been 90 or so people who do this for a living explain.
None of them do it for a living. Wait, sorry. Lane Haygood, or whatever, and Jay Sean Lemoyne are the only two people who have commented on this case that do any of this for a living, that do TCPAs in Texas. Lane Haygood and whatchamacallit, Jay Sean Lemoyne. That's it. Those are the only two Texas First Amendment practitioners that actually operate in this. There's another guy I'm not going to talk about who has been pretty quiet about commenting on it. He does too. I've talked to him in private, and he's a pretty neutral guy on the situation. And because I have talked to him in private and he is not a raging jackhole, I'm not going to disclose his name because, you know, he didn't ask for that, and I wouldn't want to direct any ire or attention towards him that he hasn't sought out. But he's another practitioner, and he has not really commented publicly that I've seen about the process that went down. So again, Lane Haygood and Jay Sean Lemoyne, that's it. You can have 1,000 other lawyers, but none of them do TCPA work.
Explaining exactly how this is the way it goes. The
Robonex, those guys don't do law in Texas. They don't practice under the TCPA. They're just like me, by the way. I don't either.
like they have been right every step of the way. So I would like for you to explain
That's
to me
actually
how the
not
judge
correct either.
who got there for a reason didn't know how to handle
The judge got there by being elected. And the election of a judge in Tarrant County has nothing to do with experience with the TCPA. That is one of the weirdest things. And again, it goes back to demonstrate the idea that Ron has no idea how any of this actually works. Like, he ended up in the good position in a lawsuit. That's what happened. And so because of that, he thinks he knows how that happened, why that happened, what the functional apparatus was, and he thinks he knows the underlying steps that would be in place to normally make that occur. But he doesn't. And it's not... Mithra Nemmer says, Ken hitting the nail on the head. Chup definitely chupped the process up completely. As you pointed out, he gave short shrift to both sides and wanted nothing to do with the complexities of the case. And judges F up often. They do. Hopefully there will be a remedy at the appeals court. But, you know, you're relying on another set of judges who have to overturn someone else.
the basics of a TCPA and how they didn't apply the law. Like it to me at this point, I'm not mad or frustrated. It just shows it's laughable in a sense because go ahead.
Let's see why you say that.
Evaluation of how the judge, the professional, didn't do their job right.
Well, judges aren't infallible. That's why we have appeals courts. That's why we have the Supreme Court. That's why we have state and federal courts for that.
Yeah.
They make mistakes all the damn time. They make mistakes that ruin people's lives.
By the way, when Ron says he's not mad,
they take years or decades to fix.
Sure.
That's an unfortunate flaw of our system.
Right.
That judges aren't all, judges don't know every statute from front to back. Sure. They just can't.
Sure.
Their goal is to get information from both parties. They will normally give them, each side will give them their interpretation of it. He goes and tries to make the best of it what he can on his rulings.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it wasn't possible that there was a mistake made in your case. And now I could, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. This is from my observations and from my following of the case, is the step-by-step process laid out in the statute didn't appear to be followed properly. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'll be first to say it.
What specific?
That's why I bring it up.
Yeah.
Is there is the potential that the way that the hearing went down was wrong, and that upon appeal it will come back.
Okay.
Well,
But the thing is, process for appeal to come back, right? There's a whole, and I know that a lot of people don't like law Twitter, but they've spelled out what would be required for anything to come back, right?
No, wrong. They have not spelled out what would be required for anything to come back.
And unfortunately, because of the incompetence of Vic's lawyers, a lot of things, even if there was a possibility of a chance, they fucked up. And that's why I'm saying he deserved better counsel, because he had no shot with the people.
Ron said earlier that if Vic had better counsel, he still would have lost. So this is, again, one of the inconsistencies of Ron's thing is he doesn't know if he should act like they were in the right or if he should act like he should attack Ty or me. That's the thing. Either you're completely right, and no matter how good of counsel you would have gotten the same result, which is what you said earlier. Now, somehow he should have gotten better counsel, which would have come to a different result, which means that you weren't right.
Well, when you have somebody in their sworn final interview in front of the judge admit that they have no evidence, nothing.
That's not true.
And Ty is so confused on the first level of what is required to overcome the TCPA. That's where it's like, okay, this is when you're for instance, if you give a person who's 5 years old the keys to a Ferrari, they probably aren't going to be very successful starting it, driving it in general.
They're literally not big enough to reach the pedals, Ron. They're 5.
Be able to operate a power wheel, but they're probably not going to be able to function in a Ferrari. So
there's a literal physical restriction on their ability to operate the Ferrari.
In this situation, this is a huge lawsuit. When someone doesn't even understand the concept or the basic understanding of the elements to overcome TCPA and saying things over and over about rational inference, and the judge pretty much laughs at them about it because there's
the rational inference is a quote from the Tarrant County Court of Appeals on the TCPA. Again, Ron, you're a layperson. It's not your job to understand this, but stop acting like you do understand this better than the people who actually understand this. And it doesn't take much research to figure out why Ty would say it's a rational inference. It's a rational inference because that's what's from the case law. The minimum quantum of evidence required to produce a rational inference that each essential element of the claim has been made. That's it. The rational inference. Isn't it a rational inference to say if they did this, then this also happened? Isn't it rational to say that if on this date Ron tweeted out about Vic and caused him damage, and then a convention saw that tweet and canceled Vic because of it, isn't it rational to assume that that is a factor in this? Because that's all you have to do. You don't even have to prove at the TCPA stage. You don't have to prove that that convention canceled because of Ron's statements. You just have to say, is it rational that this statement contributed to the damage Vic was suffering? If so, then you have, with a rational inference, you have now produced the minimum quantum of evidence necessary to support the rational inference that the damages element of the statute has been satisfied. That's it. That's how it goes. Ron doesn't get this. He doesn't understand this. And he doesn't understand why a lawyer would want in the record to be repeatedly stating to a judge the actual standard that the Court of Appeals that will hear the appeal, if there is one, why Ty would want to be reiterating the actual legal standard over and over and over and have the judge not do it. And if Ron doesn't understand that, then Ron isn't qualified to talk about any of this.
There's a process that you have to show in order to establish a prima facie case. And that's the part where it didn't have a shot because he jumped steps A, B, C, and that's why it got to
what are steps A, B, and C that were jumped, Ron?
Where it was, and why when this all started, I was laughing. And I said this before, when that guy tweeted at me, I knew this was a joke lawsuit, that we were going to...
No, you didn't. You said that was harassment. You read about it.
Absolutely wreck this guy. It's going to cost some money. But no senior partner of a law firm that has any level of reputation or care for their professional reputation would tweet at a person that might be a defendant that in a lawsuit that they would bring prior to knowing if they were represented by somebody and make those kind of statements that could potentially lead to additional targeted harassment.
What is he even talking about? That was this word spaghetti going on from Ron makes no sense. No sense. At all. No senior partner of a law firm would tweet that under this, and this condition. Why not? Why do you think that? You weren't in a lawsuit. He actually doesn't have to in any way find out if you've got representation to say we will be in touch. You can actually tell someone we're going to serve you papers if you plan to serve them papers. But he didn't even do that. He literally said, we'll be in touch. I intend to call or email you. You're the one who freaked out about that. Judge Chupp didn't care that he said that. By the way, you made a big stink about it because even though you knew everything was great or whatever, you made a big stink about it. And Judge Chupp said, who cares? Why do I care what happened on the internet? Squally says, if you could sacrifice any whiskey to end coronavirus, which would it be and why Jim Beam? Because Jim Beam is trash. I would also give up Jack Daniels. Even though Ty would be sad, I'd make him a better man.
And so that was the moment I knew this shit was going to be a laugh and a joke. And it was going to go down exactly the way it went. And then we see with Nick and all the other drama. And he deserved better. And that's part of it. Like, you know, it's a joke.
Rotato says, Ty Beard has more followers than Ron. Therefore, it's targeted harassment on Twitter. Never mind that Ty only boomered onto Twitter the day before. Yeah, and actually, when Ty made that statement, he had, I think, 6 followers. 10, maybe. I mean, he got a couple thousand right after that. But he had like nothing. It's great. Bro Tato says, oh, yeah, I just read that. Jeez. Speaking of boomer.
But why this never would have gotten anywhere and where people get frustrated is because we hear Nick, we hear other lawyers who say things that kind of sound cool because they say it emphatically. But when you ignore the voice of people from across the country that say this is how the law works, who actually do it on a day-to-day basis.
I'm sorry. Assumes facts not in evidence. I haven't seen any evidence that any of these people do this on a day-to-day basis. In any case. I don't think you realize that Greg Doucette doing like petty criminal defense is what I do. Okay. Akiva Cohen, intellectual property law in New York. Okay. We can all have opinions on this. That A Park guy, the big fatso LARPer guy or whatever, that guy doesn't even practice. He's a lawyer who doesn't practice. Mike Dunford doesn't do this on a day-to-day basis. Doesn't practice at all. In fact, as far as I can tell, I have more litigation experience than Mike Dunford does. Most of the people involved, Alan Rawls, that guy was a law student. In a different state, again. Almost none of these people do this on a day-to-day basis, Ron. They're just commentators. They're just legal commentators. You get 2 different lawyers, you can get 2 different opinions on the same thing. And the weird thing is, because it's the law, both can be right or both can be wrong. And usually, everyone's stupid. Self-included.
And then Google some things. I'm sure it's frustrating, but what about this lawsuit is so frustrating to you, Ken?
What?
The frustrations of this lawsuit, for me, I'd say it probably could be measured in twofold. Is one, the way this whole situation is handled. I don't like it. It's never sat comfortably with me from the beginning. And this one thing that I was going to bring up is when you were on the stream last time with these guys, one of the last things Crum mentioned was the possibility of a mutual apology to just settle the shit and get it over with. Why can't we do that? Why can't we let this mess go away and let it become, a much better situation?
That would be a great question for the person who's in control.
You have control.
Do we just figure out what's wrong with this for Ron? He feels like he doesn't have control
over this just as much as anyone else does.
I literally have 0 control over this lawsuit.
Not true at all. Absolutely untrue.
Bring it. And that's the misconception that has been pushed out there.
Just so you know, guys, if you're a defendant in a lawsuit, you have no control over what happens. I mean, whatever happens, happens. The plaintiff just gets to dictate the entire thing. You don't get any say in it. You don't get to do anything.
Have no control. The person who has control is the person who brought the lawsuit. I'm the defendant. I have to defend my position. I couldn't stop this if I wanted to. I have to go as far as this.
If I wanted to is a weird thing to say, right? Because you didn't want to. Because if you did want to, you would be able to exercise that control. But you never did. You just instead decided that you didn't have any. Mithrin Emrys says also, quote, he skipped A, B, and C, end quote. Yet you admittedly withheld items you should have produced in discovery. Marky Thought played process dodging games, etc. But Ty played games. Internet tough guy Sheepdog rides again. Siren Jack says, Nick, so as I understand it, if the appeal fails, the case against is dismissed against Ron and Monica on these claims unless new information is discovered. This is all new information, so could Vic could sue them again based on Ron's interviews. It's not new information. It would be new allegations. You'd have to say new defamatory actions that caused him new damage. All of the elements of the statute or of the claim would have to be new. So no, this would not be able to bring Ron back in if his claims are entirely dismissed.
This person who is suing me wants to take it.
I think it's a bit of a mischaracterization on that. Like, I think all parties have some degree of control. Right. At the end of the day, I mean, it's counsel that has control over it, and they listen to their clients. But and one other thing I wanted to just briefly mention, I mean, I don't look for my law advice on Twitter. I don't look for my law advice on YouTube. Like, if you want to get betting advice from somebody, don't go to the person that bets red and black, because they're gonna break even, right? So, from my understanding of what Law Twitter does, they make a lot of calls, and if you call...
Law Twitter isn't a monolith, by the way. I mean, sometimes it seems like they act monolithically because Catherine Toothson is monolithically huge and they're all stuck in her enormous gravity well. So I get it. It seems like there's this giant mass, because there literally is a giant mass with a set of opinions. But that's just, law Twitter is not the couple people who commented on this lawsuit. And I don't like law Twitter on principle, but the overwhelming majority of law Twitter didn't comment on this lawsuit much at all, except maybe for the initial letters that went out, and they took some time poking fun at the defamatory statements that were alleged that were not really defamatory, like not really defamation under the actual claim, right? And some of the statements in there are goofy. I mean, I can figure out reasons why you put them in there and stuff like that. And they poked fun at that, and that's fine. And then they stopped caring about the lawsuit because the overwhelming majority of law Twitter didn't get sucked into the lawsuit about a random anime voice actor because it's anime and they don't care. So to say that like law Twitter is this monolith, like Ron's trying to do, right, is a complete misnomer. This is a couple of people who participate in the other terrorist cell group that is law Twitter. But this is just ancillary to that relationship. They all happen to be in there, but not all of law Twitter happens to give a shit about this lawsuit. Dang it! I was trying to get through the entire stream without swearing. I'm working on getting back to that. I failed miserably. Random Blaze says, like I said a while ago, Mike Dumford is a law teacher with no in-court practice. Him saying that this is how it's supposed to go is like someone saying they know how to fly a plane because they read about it in a book. Yeah, of course. Of course. Bad Vibe says, the fat ladies shouldn't start singing yet, even if they are professional singers. By the way, if these people were an ounce of funny or entertaining, Catherine Tewson would have recorded a video of her fat self operatically singing. When Judge Chupp's decision came down and it was dismissed, she should have recorded some goofy song that she was singing. And then the fat lady would have sung and it would have been over. That would have been the funniest, most self-aware thing they could have done. But no, couldn't even manage it.
All 90% of the board, then you're probably going to hit most of the time. So, like, not to knock the people out there, they have a lot of insight. They're lawyers, sure, but they do a lot of, betting on red and black. So it's one of those things. So it's like when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm looking at it from a logical perspective and things like that. I think you both had chances. I think you said the last time that you were on the reasons why you and Monica were dug in your position and other people were dug in theirs. And I think looking at things now, because who knows, because right now the case is at a point where it is final pending appeals. If appeals come back or they don't, nobody knows. But the fact of the matter is like there's still a lot of questions that are out there. There's still a lot of stuff that's up in the air that hasn't been answered. And like it's a disservice for you, it's a disservice for Vic, it's a disservice for other people that are in the situation that are just kind of like, well, now we don't have answers to this. Right. Partly because like what Ken is saying here is that the judge in the case may or may not, we don't know yet until it's been ruled on, may or may not have followed the rule of TCPA correctly. If he did or not, that's not for us to decide and not really a point in discussing it. But the fact of the matter is if it comes back that he did or didn't, we'll find out. Right. But in the hearing and stuff like that, you personally, might not, but if I had the truth, right, if I was speaking up against somebody and I had truth and things like that, I would not want to win on something like a TCPA. That is something that is super messy, something that does not have any final resolution, something that has like a whole bunch of technicalities that could go one way or the other that could tie things up for 6 or 7 years, make things a nightmare for everybody involved. I would want something that has a final answer, something that it's like, no, here's the evidence, here's the stuff, here's all of our things. Because like, as far as I'm aware, and like, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because like I don't know the internal communications between you guys, but as far as I'm aware, there was a lot of stuff that you guys were asked for in terms of discovery that you just didn't provide. And
I feel like I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about that, but we provided a ton of discovery. And if you really want to look at who provided zero and who admitted to delete.
This is a flat out lie, by the way. This is a flat out lie. There's nothing else you can say about this. He is lying right now about providing zero discovery.
Eating stuff. Just take it some time to look at that. We objected to certain levels of discovery for a specific reason, and that's within our right and our lawyer's right to defend it. Because when somebody's on a fishing expedition wanting every...
Also a lie. This is incorrect. In Texas, you can object on privilege grounds and basically nothing else. Texas discovery is one of the broadest discovery states that there is. And you basically get privilege. That's it. Of course, you get relevance. If you don't get to ask for things that have no relation to the lawsuit. But he's actually lying about this as well.
Every single text message communication between a fiance and we...
No. It was every text message between you and Monica, who are not married, about Vic Mignogna. That's what you are required to produce. There is no privilege in those communications. You cannot act like that's ridiculous. Every one that is about Vic, you have to provide it. That's it. That's the discovery. And look at him, like this. I'm sorry, Ron, that you don't like that, but you're not married to her. There is no marital privilege in those text messages.
We see that things are getting leaked to the public. Mm-hmm. Every name that we pay, do you know how much money we spent to try to keep a certain 3 people's names from the public that got...
You idiot! How are you going to keep them from leaking to the public without asking the court for the confidentiality? Oh, wait, what happened? Ty asked for confidentiality and you guys said no. Remember that, Ron? Ty asked for confidentiality and you said no. You didn't have to pay any money. Oops. You idiot. Sorry to cost you so much money in vain, you little marmot.
Got leaked, and they said it was because they lipped read versus the fact that Ty submitted.
That lip reading thing is extra funny. And Cress, you stone-faced monster. How dare you, Cress? How dare you keep silent? How dare you keep silent about the lip reading? Cress, that is rude of you. Very, very rude. The next thing he's going to say here is an outright lie about me personally. So this is good.
Or gave documentation to some YouTuber who then transmitted to other people.
I have not transmitted any documents or any discovery files or anything to other people. I don't put them out there. Lots of people are like, hey, can I get that document? Nah. You know, you can grab it from Kiwi Farms. You can grab it from Shane Holmberg's little file that all of Law Twitter is using. You can do that. I did not transmit those documents or any other documents to other people. And I didn't disclose the names of anybody whose names weren't already public, you lying sack of trash. Don't put that on me. I actually went through and censored the names out of the video. Nothing came out from me on any of those people's names. You want to know why? They didn't say anything publicly. You guys did that, Ron. Not me. But I'm glad you spent the money on it. Go back and check those deposition videos. You'll notice anytime there's a name, it's bleeped out. Why you got a story about lip reading that actually occurred. What up? And Cress, very rude.
A ton of money try to keep their names private because they didn't speak publicly. But those people came out.
But you have the option. You have the option to have this confidential, right? Like I'm not like misunderstanding that.
No, we didn't want confident. We did have it, and we did have an agreement for those 3 names to stay confidential.
No, they did not.
Everything else we wanted public because we wanted transparency, because everybody's like, proof, show us proof. So and the proof is there. We submitted evidence. We gave email communication. We gave the things that they wanted. And that's why we had exhibits. And that's what they had in Vic's
You didn't give the things that they asked for.
We had the
or
I-09 and the this and all of those things. That came from us. But you can see why Ty didn't really double down on the discovery, because they provided 0 discovery, nothing. They didn't provide anything. And so
by the time it came down to the time to double down on discovery, since you waited out the entire discovery window without producing stuff, and then just a few days later, the TCPA went into effect, stopping all discovery under the statute, the one that you pretend that you know about. He couldn't pursue the discovery.
It's very nice for a person to go on there and say, oh, they didn't do this and that. Bullshit. We provided everything that we were required to.
Nope.
But on the other side, we get, oh, we deleted it as a habit and we didn't.
He literally lies right there. Everything we were required to. Recorded phone call with Kamea Khan, not included. Text messages between him and Monica about Vic, not included. All sorts of stuff, not included.
And provide you with a single drop. Cool. We don't need.
They actually did provide you with lots of discovery. You're just lying. Or your lawyer lied to you.
Your shit. Here's ours. We're going to win here. And I get your point where you'd want to go all the way, right? You want resolution. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest check you've ever written in your life, Chris?
Oh, boy. I don't want to give out too much details about myself. It was, I would say 4 digits. Like,
so you know you'd like to have to cut a check for $20,000, $40,000.
4 digits, Ron. 4.
So we were writing big checks constantly. So because we knew where we needed to go, we were willing to go as far as it takes, right? I don't care where we win as long as we win. And if we can win at TCPA because they don't even have basic level to get past it, cool, we win there. If we win at trial court, we win there. But as long as it wants to go, we'll go there. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't care where we win, where it gets to end at. But of course, our lawyers have a duty to do the lawsuit the basic way and follow the procedures of the lawsuit the way it's supposed to go, right?
No,
and
wrong. Again, wrong. They don't have any duty to do it that specific way.
To $5 million lawsuit. At what point do you want to win? Do you want to win at the end, at the beginning? Where does it matter? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't care where I win. I'm just going to win.
Could have won by not even having it for no money or very little, amazingly.
That's the point of it, is like, if his lawyers couldn't get past the basic barrier entry, it's like, you got to be this tall to ride the ride. If you're this tall, guess what? You don't get on. And that's the part of it. It's like, we did our job. We hired professionals. He hired a joker, and, you know, he got laughed at. He didn't know that he was supposed to stand during a certain part of the freaking basic entry. So it's like,
that's not, again, completely lying about what happened there as well. But, you know, whatever.
Sorry you hired a person who didn't know the basic procedures of law.
So let's take this a different step, though. I think we could take this a different direction.
Sure.
we're in appeals. Whatever happens now, happens now. Whatever the Supreme Court will do of Texas, because it will likely get appealed there, because almost every TCPA has. I have spent, I don't know how many fucking hours on case text reading Appellate and Supreme Court of Texas decisions on the TCPA, because I wanted to learn more about how the decisions are made. So it'll be figured out in the end, whether you and Monica win and you guys get your full fees, you know, or Vic gets whatever. Right. I want to figure out what we do now. What can we do now and make things better? Not just for you, but for everyone. How can we make the whole fucking thing, I don't want to say go away. This is a scar that will never heal over. Right. Everyone's impacted. Everyone's hurt. You're hurt. Nick's hurt. I'm sure Ty. I'm sure Vic.
I'm not that hurt.
You are in a very powerful position right now, and I don't think you know it. And if you do, then I'm curious as to why you haven't used it. Is you have a very strong ability to make, you and Monica do, healing motions for the community. And that's nothing that requires an admission of guilt, or like, there are ways for you to bridge that gap. Right. You can do that
but there's not ways for Monica to bridge the wage gap.
The contentions with the fans, with Vic, with Nick, with everyone. Why not do that? Why not? It would help. It would get rid of all the stress.
And that is something that we are actively doing now. For instance, me coming on the show, speaking to people that I know don't share the same views. Speaking with you, who has, put out a very detailed description of who you perceive me to be based on some very horrible things that I've done in the past. So
No, Ron, no. It's based on what you do now. I don't think Ken pushes him on this. Maybe he does. We'll find out in a second. But no, it's based on you now. This is the weird mitigation of Ron Toye. He does not accept the reality that Ken is judging him based on his present self, not his past self.
So it's not all based on your past, though. I'm basing a lot of it off of now.
No, good, he does.
Current, which is fair. That's you're right. But there are certain things.
Which is fair. That's your right. You completely just mischaracterize what he's done, and then he says, "No. It's actually based off of now." Just ignores it. Just dismiss that.
Like for me, we have to wait to certain time periods, and I know that's very frustrating.
No, you don't.
But once this is over,
you don't,
and it's done. So if he goes to Supreme Court, cool. We go to Supreme Court. When that's over, there's going to be a very concerted effort to bring back.
By the way, if Vic wins on appeal, bet it's going to the Supreme Court. I mean, I don't think the Supreme Court will hear it, but bet on it.
A feeling of peace and calmness and rational thinking and processing. Like it shouldn't be the end of everyone. It shouldn't be like Monica's doing great, but
is she though, Ron? Is she doing great? And by the way, saying it shouldn't be the end of everyone, you mean it just should be the end of Vic, right? That's your concern.
It's awesome, but why are other people hurting? Why do people have to continue in this hate? It doesn't have to be that way. And that's...
I want to point something out. This is a misnomer, misconception, misidentification. I don't hate Ron. And I don't hate Monica or Jamie Markey. I find them repulsive and disgusting. But I find lots of people repulsive and disgusting. It's probably a character flaw of mine. I don't hate them. I think they're terrible. I hate aspects of their personality that would make them do this. I hate cancel culture, and I hate people who actively participate in said cancel culture. I hate that. And that's what I said. If you remember my grind them to dust thing that Ron seems to want to remember only that part of, I said I want to see people like you ground into dust. It's people like you. It's the concept of this thing that I hate. I don't hate the individual people. I don't know them well enough to hate them. I can't really think of any person that I hate other than Joe Biden from when he touched me behind a Wendy's. But there's not like a person. There are groups of political ideologies that I hate their ideologies and stuff like that. So no, Ron, there's no hate here. The hate might actually be coming from the person who suggested that he would fly 1,000 miles to assault someone in their home. That might be hatred, and that's on you. I can't fix you. And neither can therapy or the courts, apparently. But don't pin that on me. Don't pin that on me.
Our goal in the end of this is that however it turns out, right? But in the end, there are people that were hurt from this that maybe didn't have to. And once this is over,
you caused it.
I said this on the last show. If Vic wanted to meet with me and have a conversation, I would.
Why on earth would Vic want to meet with you? He doesn't know you.
Do it. I'd meet him. I'd have a coffee with him and chit chat. I'm not.
It'd be the first time ever.
Have come forward with an account of a situation with him, right?
A situation with
those
him.
Things.
He was going to say assault, and he had to catch himself.
They have to deal with that with him on their own. With me, if he wants to sit down and have a chat with me and chit chat and let's see how we can heal the community, cool, let's do that, bro. Because guess what? I think
you're not in the community. You're not a part of the community. You can't heal the community, and taking your advice on how to heal the community would be the worst step anybody in any community could ever take, because you are a degenerate, abusive monster. Still.
I hope the best for him. I hope he makes a comeback, because there's a lot of fans who love him and love his work. And that's the part where I feel really hurt that people put words in my mouth, because I'm very passionate.
No, we use your words. They didn't put words in your mouth. No one wants to put anything in your mouth except Monica.
About redemption. And I think that he deserves that. And that's the part that sucks, is that people want to I will fight the lawsuit as far as he wants to go. We want to go Supreme Court, redo Supreme Court. I stand by every statement. I haven't deleted anything. I didn't take.
Stands by every statement. How can you? You don't even know what they were.
Take down a single thing. That's part of it. There's Twitter data. Cool.
Well, and this is another unfair question, just briefly, because you said if you
actually all of your statements have been deleted because you got deleted off of Twitter, Ron.
He wants to take it to the Supreme Court. If it comes back and they bring you back into the lawsuit with an appeal, would you appeal to the Supreme Court at that point?
I think there's a different process, because we would have I think if anything came back off appeals, we would have the right to appeal that section, right? And then there's a whole process and wizardry that I pay a shit ton of.
Here he's going to go and pretend he doesn't understand. Guys, pop quiz, okay? Ron, here's the setup for the pop quiz. Ron just professed to know the intricacies of how the TCPA plays out in district court. By the way, one of the hardest things to do is to actually pin down the process of how a judge conducts a hearing in district court without a lot of resources being spent. Because your case text and all of that stuff, the free resources that are out there, you're exploring appellate level decisions or Supreme Court level decisions. So you're not getting district court level decisions. And often those are unpublished opinions anyway. If an opinion even comes, other than just, this person wins or this person wins. So you don't often get even access to what the process was in these district court things. And if you do, it's hard to get to those documents because there's not always something even produced. And to get to those documents, you often need some level of financial investment, and the research tools for it are very expensive. Trust me, I know. That being said, Ron professes to know exactly how the TCPA works, and he talks about how Ty doesn't. Pop quiz. This is a long setup. Pop quiz. What happens if Vic wins on appeal? What wizardry occurs that would allow Ron to appeal that decision? Does anybody know the wizardry that is the next step? I gotta wait 20 seconds. Electrolytes, wizardry. Supreme Court. Okay, the first answer was the correct one. Sheepsidian. You go to the Supreme Court. Once you win or lose at the appeals court, the next step is the Supreme Court. That's it. That's the wizardry. It's the basic step that happens. But Ron doesn't.
Monica and I pay a shit ton to get done. They would go through the process.
He doesn't know that the next step is the Supreme Court, but he professes to know the intricacies of how TCPAs are processed. The man is insane.
Do their thing. But say hypothetical in a world where something was determined that was inappropriate. You know what I do? I pay the fucking money. Because if I did something that the court said was inappropriate or wrong, I just own up to my shit. Like, that's just part of it.
Lie.
I knew the consequences of my tweets and my actions and my words, and shit happens. If I gotta pay a bill, I pay a bill.
Okay. So what if the bill? Sorry, Ken, I'll let you continue in just a second. But what if the bill is an apology?
I pay the bill.
All right, you can go ahead, Ken.
No problem with it.
So, I've got a couple of questions, Ron.
Yeah.
At this point in the game,
he could have paid the entire bill at the onset very easily. Very easily. And by the way, Ron is acting like that's not what his lawyers would have advised. Unless Casey Eric or Jay Sean Lemoyne are the dumbest people on the planet. And while I think they're dumb, I don't think they're that dumb. They had a conversation with Ron of, what would you be willing to get, like, what would you be willing to do to make this go away? He could have paid a bill that didn't even have probably an apology. He could have probably, I'm guessing here, had some sort of agreement where all the parties released statements of, hey, we overstepped our bounds. We got caught up in the heat of an internet drama and people misunderstood what we were saying. So let's be clear. Let's clarify some things and also say, by the way, Vic is not a danger to people around him or anything like that. That stuff was just, that got caught up in the crowd, and they probably could have worked something like that out. And then that way, all of the conventions could go, whatever they're going to do. They could either say, we don't buy this, we don't like Vic, or they could have said, thank God, now I've got something I can show people where they go, yeah, that stuff was really exaggerated. Or some stories that weren't about Vic got mixed in and people got confused. They could have done probably anything like that. And I bet Vic would have taken it. Because that's all it would have taken. That would have undone the damage that they did to the extent that it was undoable. It would have cost them nothing but that ego, right?
And we're like 16, 17 months in. I suck at counting.
Long fucking time. Just go with that.
Yeah, long fucking time.
Yeah, long time.
Long enough. Do you forgive Vic for what happened from his side?
I've never not had forgiveness for Vic. I don't have any.
Lie. This is a horrific lie.
Hard feelings towards Vic.
Do you still see Vic as a predator, or the other ways you've described him?
I feel that he does. Well, that's an interesting question because I've seen photographs that seem like he's adjusted his type of behavior.
It's not it's just a yes or no.
That I thought was a concern. So I don't have enough data yet. But
Okay.
I do see signs of positive stuff. I do believe that when he said he was getting help, I believe that he would do that for his fans and for himself. And I see
But you've said over and over that he didn't do it.
sign in his photographs. And I brought that up on our last conversation because I saw some photos from KitchenerCon and some other conventions that he's done that looked awesome. So for me, that's
no thanks to you. Zero thanks to you, Ron.
That's why this is a fucking stupid thing, because it's like, great, he did the shit he was supposed to do. Cool, good job. End of story.
It's not that simple.
But now we got a lawsuit that's a lot of expense, and it is what it is. But for me, I don't have any hard feelings towards him, and I'm encouraged to see the positive stuff that he did at the cons that have come forward, and I haven't heard any negative things about him. I haven't, since the lawsuit began. So it's like, cool. It sounds like he did the things that he promised his fans that he would do.
One of the things I was talking.
You said, though, once he did that Monica would help him back into the industry.
To Chrome and Mr. Hop about before you jumped on the stream here earlier was the perception of social interactions by different cultures and different people. And, Vic, very much identifies with his Italian heritage.
Sure.
And
Nix Hex says, Nikki, can you please explain what even is and dichotomy or and metadata the way Ron means it? No. No, he can't either.
And is very, affectionate in that way. And it's very, and part of my background's Italian too, so I kind of get it. Hugging or very close. And it's very cordial. And if you were to jump over to Europe, your standard greeting is the kiss on the cheek thing. Yeah. The two kisses.
That's fair.
Is it possible that a lot of this wasn't actually inappropriateness and was a misunderstanding of someone's culture? And, like I said, in a way, it could almost be seen as xenophobic if you're projecting your culture on another person's and you're trying to set the standards of your culture on someone else's.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is very possible that could be the case. And that's why I feel like this lawsuit didn't make any sense, because I think...
Didn't make any sense? You decided, you, Ron, decided that everything that Ken just said, which is all innocuous and everybody knows it's innocuous, was assault, was predatory. Oh my God.
I think a lot of the interaction could be a I can't remember if he's 57 or 58. There's times change and adapt. In the 60s and 70s and 60s.
Can you believe this?
We had segregation. Obviously, that isn't the case anymore, thankfully.
People like you, Ron, are trying to bring it back. Ron, people like you want segregation again. They want it. The Black Lives Matter people that you were crying about with your dad want racial segregation back. This guy has no idea. But
he comes from a different time period. So that's why it was such an thing that baffled us. Is like, adapt, bro. Back then it was 2019.
You didn't let him adapt. You cut out his job. There was no adapting. It was over. You accused him of being a sexual predator, not of hugging people a little too much. Not of being a product of a different time. You said he was a sexual predator. Look at Cress's face here is great. You lying, bro.
It's 2020 now. Like, we get it. Things change.
But some of his stuff wasn't inappropriate, though.
Well, and that's a matter of perception.
Ken, I know you're being diplomatic, but none of it was.
A lot of it. Well, again, it's that culture thing.
Right.
So for many people, it's not.
Because, like, I'm Irish. Then every bit of my anger and aggression.
R.I.P. Ireland. Your status has gone even further down the tubes, and now we understand why everyone hated the Irish when the country was founded. Can we segregate the Irish, and it's entirely Ron's fault? Look, And Ireland, if the Irish, to the Irish out there, if you don't like it, well, you know who to blame. Fluffy Tet says, finally, 100% out of debt. No bankruptcy needed. No financial ball and chain at all. Cheers, mates. Also, car loans can go commit Suzuki. Oh, wait, here. I got to get the finger in, the thumb in. There you go, buddy. I didn't know what else to do. I don't have a drink or anything. But cheers to you, man. That's awesome. Corinthus says, Nick, have a question. To the best of your knowledge, is it illegal to carry what is legally classified as a cap gun across state lines and open carrying it as a deterrent if the location allows open carry? So you mean like a literal cap gun, so a replica gun that shoots off, that just does loud noise caps? They legally classified as a cap gun. Makes me curious what you actually mean. I don't know. I would suggest that each state has their own regulations as far as what's allowed under open carry or under concealed carry, and you should consult the states or consult an expert inside the state you intend to travel to. And one easy way to do this, by the way, is if you're going to travel into or through a state, call a sheriff of the county you're going to be in and ask them what you can do. Don't give them your name or anything like that. Say, hey, look, I'm from out of state. I'm just wondering what I can actually carry with me. That's a good way to handle that. And they'll usually just tell you, you know, how they handle that stuff.
In fights is totally acceptable because I'm Irish and that's how we fucking deal with shit, right?
No, what a racist this guy is. No, that's not how you deal with this.
Well, it depends on the part of the world that you're in, but yeah.
Your community is that way.
Right? Like back in, I like this show called Outlander. It's amazing. If any of you guys haven't seen it, watch it because it's got everything for everybody. But like some shit was acceptable back then that isn't acceptable now. It's adaption. Cool. You thought it was okay to do this. Some people didn't agree with you. End of story. That's it.
You didn't let it be the end of the story. You are such a disingenuous liar. You drove a man out of his career and hounded him away from conventions, including Kamehacon. You told Kamehacon to not invite Vic. You told him to. You told him that Monica would be calling other conventions and telling them the same thing. You said that in the texts. You didn't just let it be that. Hundreds of tweets, Ron.
And that's how I felt about like, this isn't about this and that. Like, dude, just adapt. Some people didn't like it. Some people did. Shit happens. Everybody might have offended somebody at some point in their life. Let's just move forward. But
you didn't let him. You couldn't let him.
A big, huge hoopla of shit came out and all this drama.
You brought it out. You brought it out. You did it. It didn't just come out. That's like you sit there and jerk off for 30 seconds and then you complain that the semen just came out. That's not what happened, Ron. You did it.
When words were put in our mouth that weren't there, you know what I mean? Like, I do think there was just a misunderstanding a lot of times based on culture, but that doesn't make it any less appropriate when there's videos out there where he has to ask if your dad's here and then explain how people are going to call him X, Y, and Z, but then still choosing to do the thing that he knows.
It's a joke. It's part of the lines. It's from the show.
This is going to cause him online ridicule, right?
So did you see my analysis of that video?
I don't remember if I saw it or not, so I apologize about that.
That's fine. I know some of my stuff was pretty thorough.
I apologize for not seeing it. If you want to forward it to me, I don't know how to put that information to you, but I'd love to look at it.
I think I tagged you in the reply on the forums when I did it.
Ken, he saw it. He saw it. Of course he saw it. He's a liar.
And because it was part of my long ass response.
Okay.
That's the long one. I don't remember.
Okay, I read the first paragraph and then I stopped reading.
remember the page off the top of my head, but
Is it on Kiwi Farms?
yeah, it's on the forums. It's in
No, it's in all the other places that you interact with Ken Jennings where he could tag you, you dolt.
thread. It's in your and Monica's thread. It's not in the AMA. It's in your thread.
That website's so confusing. I don't know how to use it, and it like has this weird trigger when you tweet, or text or whatever it's called. It like you can't reply a bunch of times, and it's hard to track it. And I'm out on that site. I'm like,
it took a minute to learn the form system. I won't. Now I'll give you that one.
Email correspondence.
Email's great. I'm like,
I only do Telegraph. I'm sorry.
Don't email Ron. Absolutely not.
like email is sweet. Faxing.
Faxing. Oh gosh.
Let me bring up my dial-up mode real quick.
Okay, I think I'm gonna stop it here while everybody's having a happy slappy moment because I'm getting tired of dealing with it. I don't think I can take any more of that. It's kind of horrible and very it's very hand jobby, and that's not a criticism to them. You know, they're all just having a moment, and it's fine. It's just all of the stuff leading up to this that I'm done with that interview for the day because I can't. When someone will sit, and I think Cress and Mr. Hop and Ken Jennings all know this. When someone will sit in cordial conversation and overtly lie, like just lie over and over and over again, that is the pinnacle of disrespect. Like, I don't care if you like me or hate me or whatever, but if we are having a cordial conversation back and forth, and you will look me in the eye and lie to me, that's disrespectful. And if I did that to you, it would be disrespectful. When we've developed this, like, this isn't even, I would consider it disrespectful of me to come here where I can't even see y'all's eyes, right? Like, this is just me looking at a little dot on a camera. But if I were to come here and sit in front of you and just lie, that would be extremely disrespectful to you guys. This is worse. This is you engaging specifically with someone face to face via cameras or whatever, and then lying to them. I can't imagine living like that. I can't. And I'm a lawyer. That's like our whole reputation, is that that's what goes on. It isn't. It's not accurate to the profession, but that's the reputation. I should understand that. And I don't. I can't do that. I think that is terrible. Okay. That being said, I'm going to do the super chats, and then we're going to wrap up this show. We should be wrapping up right around 2 a.m. Central Time, which is in 20 minutes, 22 minutes. And then we will go over on Twitch. And I think we're going to start with Boondock Saints tonight. I think I'm trying to decide if I want a cheesy movie or a decent movie. Boondock Saints is pretty decent. We're going to start with Boondock Saints. Let's do that. Start with Boondock Saints, and then we might do a second movie. It'll depend on how tired I am, how long the movies are. The second movie is going to be cheesy. It's likely going to be from the 70s or the 80s. It is likely going to have violence. It is likely going to have nudity, because I'm sorry, I want violence, nudity, uncouth jokes. I want all of that back into my entertainment. I want entertainment to be entertaining. And I want all of that. Boondock Saints, of course, has gamer words in it. So if you're triggered by it, definitely come and watch. It's the stuff that we're not allowed to say. And that's great. That's great. You've got to let the people who are allowed to say it, those being the Hollywood. Hollywood will be the only people, by the way, who can use gamer words going forward. and I'm not saying hatefully or anything, but in a context, as a piece of art or whatever. If you or I do it, we're done. Quentin Tarantino can drop an N-word 80 times and be just fine. He can actually write his own character to say the N-word however many times, right, in Pulp Fiction. And I think in every movie that he's in, he can do that and not really face any backlash about that. But if we were to do it and put that into, even with an artistic reason that's better than Quentin Tarantino's I want to be edgy, and I like Tarantino, don't get me wrong, like, don't misunderstand. But if we did that, we would be canceled forever. So it's we're gonna get that Boondock Saints with the gamer words, and then we're gonna watch something with action, hopefully some great anthemic music and all of the other good stuff that comes along with it after that. All right, so let's hit these chats and then we will do it. Fran Madaraki says, here's a poem for Nick the Lawful about how Monica stimulates her blue waffle. She enters Ron with no issue, leaving quite the scar tissue. She goes and goes until he ejaculates, and maybe did his bowels evacuate. That is horrible, and I now need bleach for my eyes. Thank you. Crusader Saracen says, finally about to pay off my car. Hey, congrats, man. In celebration, take my dollary dues. Sorry, my donations are always so small. Never, please don't apologize to me about donation size or anything like that. But at least it's on Streamlabs, so you get a bigger slice of that pie. Stream with Razor when God effing speed Lawmaster. Remembering that I did a stream with Razor Fist and loved every second of it. I don't know, whenever he mentioned doing a Seagal movie watch party, which would be kind of like, we couldn't do it on Twitch because they don't have them, but we may be able to just do one where maybe we do like a Riff Tracks cut or something. I don't know. Or just analyze a bunch of Seagal movies or something. I love Razor Fist and would happily do that. Siren Jag says, oh, I read that one. Malik Foxon says, why can't you be a legitimate lawyer because you don't agree with 90 hacks on Twitter? You can't be a lawyer if you're wrong, I guess. Bad lawyers don't exist, I guess, because you can't be a bad lawyer even though he constantly implies Ty is a bad lawyer. Frustrating. Well, yeah. Malik Foxon also says, I had no control over this lawsuit, but mediation was a thing, and you guys literally said, we will not settle. Knowing Vic would have settled this lawsuit if you wanted to talk something reasonable. When it was time to settle, ball was in your court. I mean, well, yeah. Crusader Saracen says, if Vic wins on appeal, doesn't it just go back to the lower courts for a standard civil trial? Where would the Supreme Court fit in? It goes back to the lower courts unless they appeal the decision. Like, they can appeal the appeals court, and that would go to the Supreme Court. Same thing, if Vic loses on appeals, he could appeal that decision to the Supreme Court as well. The Supreme Court taking the case in the first place for either side is unlikely in general. It's just an unlikely proposition. So they will most likely ask, and they will probably not receive. Night of Hopex says, I guess Motel 7 will leave the light on for you when your horse lady is getting an arm rammed up her birth canal. What's really tragic to think about is all the confused stallions stumbling around trying to identify which part of her to mate with later. Whoa. Colin Stevens says, thanks for the assistance yesterday. If you're ever in Atlanta, I owe you a meal. Thanks again, sir. My pleasure. Jacob Pangle, welcome to the paralegal status on the channel. I appreciate it. Viden the Cold One says, got some Basil Hayden's. Good choice. Top tier stream last night. Thank you. Basil Hayden's is fantastic. Iz Halison says, I know the last stream got rather heated and a lot of emotions flowed, but honestly, I'm proud of you admitting your love of Jack Daniels. You stop that. You stop it now. Basement Troll Production says, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Bobby hasn't played for the Mets since 1999. He gets $1.19 million a year until 2035. Might make for a fun topic to examine if you need to get away from the stuff pissing you off. Jeez, I had no idea about that. That's phenomenal. Good contract. Edward T. Riffman says, Viacom must think they own Drexel. What a bunch of racists. Lol. Cynic in Chief says Viacom hates black people. Hashtag black interviews matter. I am told by Crest that that interview is up. It is up now. Some nobody says, believe me now about the communism, eh? I see. No one important says, no, don't listen to anyone who says to indulge Ron. Instead, keep doing what you're doing, laughing from afar from all the stupid and crazy. Oh, I have no intention of talking to Ron. The Sean23 says, Nick, make a video of Lemoyne's greatest hits. Someone actually did do that. Lemoyne sings the hits or whatever. That exists. Cemetery Lady says, Boondocks Saints. Twilight Dragon 3 says, I know you said we should stop making you sing as Lemoy. Okay, we'll stop. We'll start making you sing as Ron. Lol. Oh, that's terrible. Christy Smith says, Nick and Ty, did you see that Jesse Pridemore just came out and told the exact same lie she told about Todd Habercorn to someone in the video game industry named Shane DeFriest? Worth looking into. I am looking into it. I am. More to come on that as I get it. Cynic in Chief says, Nick, you and My Room Records should make a full-length Lemoyne Sings album. I'd like to pre-order it and buy a second copy to send to a Texas lawyer. Casting Coach says, Ron is a prime example of what happens when you use charisma as a dump stat. Nick, agree to the fight and put on a fight a la Worski v. Tonka. Oh, that sounds awful. Macca Jr. says, did you hear Mia Khalifa has a petition to remove her porn videos from the internet? Good luck with that. Haha, she's only done about 8 videos anyway. Also, if you just peruse Mia Khalifa's Instagram, it's rather thoughty on its own. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that she's trying to unmarket what made her famous in the first place. Because this is the revision, right? It's regret. Well, I regret this thing, therefore I want to make it so it didn't happen, but I want to maintain everything I got from the thing I regret. Look, it's part of you. It's what you did. You don't get to erase the past, especially when that past was public, and that's what made you public. Nick's Hex says, I'm not mad, I'm just laughing. Snarkticon DM says, Ron is mad someone stole his Iridium Q... his Iridium Q36 explosive space modulator. Shadows King 101 says, is Jack Daniels the cooking wine of whiskey? Yes. Ramen Jack is great. Or Jack Ramen or whatever. Satanic Potato, thanks for the donation. Kalinka Pavlova says, Ron's sanctimonious tarded monologues in his soy voice makes me cringe so hard it feels worse than my cold. Dang. I didn't forget the emojis. It was fire bomb, startle face, and then a weird red crying face. I don't even know what that is, but I think it was red face, and you should be ashamed. Lost Bullet says, just got here, preparing the materials to be on standby come November. You can count on me, Nick. P.S. Know a good DC attorney. No, I'll refer you to Mark Zaid, though. Jason Alator, welcome to super lawyer status. Awesome. Thank you for joining. Some nobody says Horsica can't cross bridges with grates on them. Kalinka Pavlova says, I'd have a coffee with Vic and chit chat. Yeah, Ron, you don't really mean you try to punch him out with your sad noodle arms. Lol. Bloody Thumbs says, you're giving Ron too much credit. He's a one-pump chump. Bad vibes. Let me suggest Ron only started being an internet tough guy after not being called out on his mealy mouth BS. If Ron's feet were held to the fire, he wouldn't have. Poper Lives 34 links. Thanks for the donation. Tom Reed sent a hype hippo. I love your sacred cow. Sent a 1-up hippo. Thank you. Corathus says, just wanted to follow up and say thank you. After what happened tonight, I definitely need to make that call. You're awesome. My pleasure. Tom Reed sent a #1 fan Peach sticker. Thank you for that. All right, guys. That's a show. We did finish up a little bit early, which is great because that gives everybody a few minutes to go grab snacks, food, go to the bathroom, all of that stuff, and then come up. That's a pear. Yes, sorry, not a peach. It's a pear. Make sure you come check out the Twitch show. We will be watching Boondock Saints. It should be a good time. all of the watch parties are a good time. And they're certainly a great way to get away from the nonsense that can happen over here. If you're ever feeling annoyed or stressed out about that stuff, go to the watch parties. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. Here comes the outro. We'll see you tomorrow here. Also, Drexel, I believe, will be here Friday. We'll see. All right, guys, see you over on Twitch. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an odd bag of bow, more of love frog. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Toye to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law